The Buffalo Bills' performance in Miami yesterday was nothing short of an embarrassment. But does that represent the end of the Bills' Super Bowl hopes in 2025, Stevie Johnson?
No, it doesn't mean it's the end, but things definitely need to be done differently going forward into this season if they want to make that push for the Lombardi Trophy.
As long as you have Josh Allen, you are in the conversation for a Super Bowl. This is Broken Table. Hein, AK, Stevie, and you were right. That was an embarrassment yesterday.
Pathetic performance.
Awful showing. Pretty much the exact opposite of what we had the week before against the Chiefs. And we have a ton to get into, from trades that didn't happen to that performance to what this means moving forward. But yes, Stevie's right. Things need to change and need to change in a hurry. So Stevie, what exactly would you be changing out of the gate to fix this Bills offense?
So me personally, when I talk about changing, is the mindset. And I'm going to start with the head. Josh Allen. Josh Allen, we all know that, he's Superman. He's great. He's done more great than he's done bad. But he has to be better. And when I say he has to be better, he has to command more from his players. He has to command more from his coaches. There were situations in the game where players were not prepared. There were blitz situations and players were still running a regular route. So that's where I say that changes need to be made. It starts with Josh putting that pressure on others.
I couldn't believe, Stevie, the way that the Buffalo Bills came out in that first half. 4 first downs and 90 yards in the first half for the Buffalo Bills against a Miami Dolphins team that is already looking forward to the offseason. They're done. They have no chance to make the playoffs. Meanwhile, it's Miami who goes out and puts up 14 first downs, 220 yards. And I look at that first drive when McDermott opted to punt.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
As opposed to go for it. I'm like, you have Josh Allen, who's 6'5", 240. Get Reggie Gilliam behind him and push him over the first down marker. I couldn't believe how cowardly that decision was. And I think the effect of that was really representative of the entire game for the Buffalo Bills. As soon as that happened, I'm like, they're not playing to win today. And it looked like that for the entire game until later in it when it was essentially already over. It was really frustrating to watch the entire offensive game plan from start to finish.
You took the words right out of my mouth. If we want to go to some alternate reality where they go for that and they get that, I think that could be a Bills blowout yesterday. Like, you get the Tua throws the pick early and then you're going. It's like, what do the Eagles do in that situation? What does Dan Campbell do in that situation?
Go.
Teams that if you're going to win in the NFL, you go for that fourth down. And then when they had the other fourth and short, I believe it was the next possession or maybe 2 possessions later, they run some weird ass play again. How many times have we seen these bogus play calls on 4th and short where you take away the first read and then Josh is kind of running around and looking deep, and it's like, it doesn't make any sense. You need a yard. Use Josh Allen to get that yard, especially if he's going to run it. You have the numbers advantage. Get Josh in the gun and run a quarterback sweep. You're going to get a yard every time. Stevie.
And guys, like, we've seen Peyton Manning, we've seen those years where they get to the huddle and they get to the line and they see something that they don't like. Yeah, okay, they're going against what the coach is calling, but they're making easier plays happen. Like, Josh, you have to change things and you have to be the guy to override what a coach says. If we like this jet sweep, bro, come on now. We did it again to the short side field, didn't get us nothing. Like, Josh has to be the leader to say, all right, look, check. We go run stick. And on this stick, if you see this blitz, I need eyes. You know what I mean? You got to do things like that. And that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing robots right now. So something has to change. And that punt was ridiculous.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable.
Well, Stevie, James Cook wasn't very effective yesterday at all, which has been very rare this year. He's been awesome. So Josh Allen was looking downfield a lot. And to me, not a lot of separation from the receivers. He had a ton of time to throw on multiple occasions. He's looking down there. There was that Keon Coleman 35-yard play. That was a big one. But beyond that, I'm sure Josh Allen is feeling the same frustration that Bills fans are right now and thinking, do we have the group of pass catchers that are able to get us over the top? What did you see yesterday from them?
Well, I mean, that's fair to say from the first 1 through 9 weeks. But this game, I don't see it that way. I see it as this was just one of those bad games from Josh, to be honest, because there were plays where the ex receiver, which was Keon Coleman, he was open. And you gotta get it to him, whether they're holding him or not. That put the ball in the ref's hand to call that flag or not, or let your boy make a play. You know, there was a few moments downfield where things might have adjusted, but as players, you see this game on the move. You can start in cover 1 or cover 2, and then as the hike go on, the coverage changes. And Keon was open for another bomb, and Josh, he ended up missing that one. So, yeah, it's safe to say 1 through 9 for Josh to be frustrated because of the situation he was put in. But this past game, there was plenty of opportunities there. It just wasn't the players that was making the plays, and unfortunately, Josh didn't make plays this week either. Before I go off, James Cook, he was doing what he was supposed to. However, there was just a flip in the play when a forced fumble. Those are things that you can't account for, and that stopped momentum also.
So honestly, the turnovers were a major factor, because if you look at all 3 turnovers happen in plus territory. You had Allen's interception in the end zone. You had James Cook fumble around the 25. You were going to score there. And you had Allen's fumble. You're cross midfield. So where Miami's turnovers were more just like arm punts from Tua, all of the Bills' turnovers were going to be points, and that could have made a big difference. But to your point about all the time in the world, and there's some data to back up your eye test, Josh Allen, 3.53 seconds to throw. That's the longest he's had since 2018. Oof. And that just tells me no one is open. No one's getting open. I know Stevie said a little different, that like Stevie disagrees a bit, but if you look at some of the all 22 looks, I did see Keon Coleman a couple times, but Stevie, how much then maybe is it that Josh has kind of lost confidence in Keon Coleman, and that's maybe why he's not looking his way?
You know, that's a fair assumption. I wouldn't even go as far to say he lost confidence. It's just he's being given these plays. You know, it was one play where he got all his athletes out there. However, all of them are running vertical routes. And it's 2nd and 7, you know, so that's kind of putting Josh in a situation where how can you wait even longer than 3 seconds? That's, first of all, that's amazing for the offensive line to be holding up for that long and the ball still not out. That's amazing. It should be out in 2 seconds or 2.5. But the situations Josh is being put in is unfortunate. That's where he needs to change things up and start dialing it up for himself. Peyton Manning's done it. Tom Brady, I'm keep saying these names, but it's because he has to go into the pass, go into his bag, and be creative, because he's able to do that. It's not the trust in the receivers. It's in the film room. It's in the film room and holding each other accountable, brother.
Well, I wonder if Brandon Beane is a avid viewer and listener of Broken Table, because reportedly, according to Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network, the Buffalo Bills were very aggressive on 2 fronts, going out and getting a receiver in Jaylen Waddle and going out and getting some help on the defensive line in Quinnen Williams. We know Quinnen Williams was traded to Dallas. We know Jaylen Waddle, reportedly, the Dolphins wanted the 2026 first from Buffalo as opposed to the 2027 first that they were being offered. For me, if I'm Brandon Beane, I bite the bullet and I'm giving up the 2026 first for Jaylen Waddle. I mean, you're already looking at this as your championship window. What's the difference with a first-round pick versus at 26
Waddle,
versus
you're winning
2027?
the Super Bowl, so it's going to be pick 32.
Maybe. So. And, I mean, maybe you win yesterday's game if Jaylen Waddle's not going out and catching that 38-yard bomb over Hairston. But, Stevie, I'm really interested to know your perspective on this, because we've been talking a lot about receivers with the Buffalo Bills. Would you have made that deal if you were Brandon Beane, giving up the 26 first as opposed to the 27?
Yeah, I would have done it just because, like, why not add more pieces? Like, it's not even to throw shade at another receiver or other players on the team. If you go bring another weapon in, hey, give it up. Why not? But now when you talk about who would I really want to be on this team that can make a difference, is a type of receiver that commands the offense, that commands the ball. And that's what Josh needs right now. We can ask for that out of Keon. However, Keon he's still in his early years, and he doesn't need to really command the ball until we see now, you know, you can evolve yourself and start commanding the ball in a smart way, which he's shown to be mature. You know, we getting a Waddle, getting a Olave, getting Rashid Shaheed. I don't believe they would have made a difference, although they are great weapons. But it wouldn't have made a difference in what we need for this Buffalo Bills team, AK.
I think with Waddle, they're just missing that guy who can beat man. And I know we talked about it before. Waddle thrives against zone coverage, but you mentioned it. Against Max Hairston, just a little bit of a double move. He looked really good, and we saw Max Hairston run stride for stride with Xavier Worthy a week ago. So we know Hairston has the athleticism, but just a nice run route by Waddle to get a touchdown there. I disagree with you, Stevie. I think Waddle would completely change this defense just because it would properly slot everybody else as to where they should be. And I think we're seeing a lot of that lately with how they're using Shakir. Everything is just at the line of scrimmage. Why are we throwing so many little screens to him? I know he's great at making guys miss and breaking tackles, but if you have someone like Waddle who can kind of be a bit of a go-to guy, then you have less pressure on Kincaid, who once again went down with a hamstring injury. Don't know how long that's going to be. Less pressure on Coleman and less pressure on Shakir. And that maybe allows Shakir to kind of get a little more stuff downfield because the defense has to pay more attention to Waddle.
I think it's such an interesting idea that didn't happen, which is really a shame because I think the idea of slotting is exactly right. And it just adds a whole new element to what the Buffalo Bills could be offensively and a whole new toy for Allen and Joe Brady and Sean McDermott to play with. Unfortunately, again, I don't really understand the logic. It would have been an overpay with a 2026 first as opposed to a 2027.
First and a third.
First and a third.
It was a first and a third, which is a lot to give up.
It is. But Waddle's under control.
Yeah.
You have him for a while. He's a young guy who's got a ton of talent, a ton of upside. You're making a trade in division, which you know is going to be more expensive as opposed to out of division. For me, it was a no-brainer, and I'm really disappointed that Brandon Beane didn't pull the trigger.
Well, also one other factor too, we've seen them miss on first-round picks. They've missed on how many first-round picks. So, yeah, be a little splash. You know you need a receiver. Sorry, go ahead, Stevie.
Yeah, I'm just saying with the Waddle thing, everybody keeps saying it. Think about what did Waddle do versus us? He had a play for about 50 yards, and then we played off coverage, and he had 10-yard route. So he really only had 4 catches for 20 yards. Like put that in our offense, he gonna be doing the same thing that Josh Palmer's doing right now. It's not gonna make a difference. We need a guy with attitude that's saying, "Hey, leaving the huddle. Josh, look for me, all right? I'm going to be open on this situation. We in a film room. Hey, they going to be showing this, and this coverage. All right, so when we get to this situation, make sure you find me because I'm going to be prepared for it." You need that person in your ear. You don't need a guy that's going to come into a system and just try to fit in and give his skills. Everybody's got skills in the NFL. You got to be a difference maker, and that's what separates the guys that are, legends and remember versus the guys who just make plays for now, Like you need that type of energy, not just a great athlete.
Well, so one interesting thing that the fan base has been all over, and the fan base is angry. I have not seen them this mad in a while.
Rightfully so.
But everyone keeps going back to, and we've talked about it since last year, Ladd McConkey going right after Keon Coleman. And we saw Ladd McConkey had a touchdown last night, looked pretty good last night, where Keon Coleman continues to struggle. How much of this blame that the Bills' current situation is, how much that blame goes on Brandon Beane?
Well, I think Brandon Beane was trying to correct his own mistake, potentially by trading for Jaylen Waddle, right? If you're willing to give up a 2027 first and a third for a receiver, clearly you view that as a deficiency within your organization. That's obvious. And anyone who's watched the Buffalo Bills this year would have to acknowledge that's not exactly the strongest part of the game is the group of receivers they have. And, of course, Dalton Kincaid, as you mentioned, has a hamstring, and who knows how long he's going to be out for. He's been their most consistent pass catcher all year.
He's been their best pass catcher.
For sure. So I'm with you, man. I'm with you. And Brandon Beane deserves a lot of blame right now for how this roster is built. But again, I think we need to consider the reality. The injury bug has bit the Bills in a way that's almost unlike anybody else that they're dealing with right now on the defensive side of the ball, especially.
Curtis Samuel's making a lot of money. He hasn't been hurt. Dawson Knox is making a lot of money. He hasn't been hurt.
Too?
Josh Palmer's making a decent amount of money. He's been hurt, but there's a lot of money going around for guys you're just not getting any production from.
Yeah, too much buddy I feel like is going on in there, and that's where we're saying things need to change. And too much buddy, and you got all this money being sat on the bench or not even suited up. You got to start utilizing the roster the right way. If you don't attack receiver position, then why not go after defenders, during that trade deadline? Even with this free agency still open, there's guys that can be picked up and give you that extra boost for this year, for the rest of this year. Things got to be done.
Brandon Beane must hate the fact that these trade discussions have gotten out. I don't know how that works in the NFL. Maybe Stevie, you could call Adam Schefter, get the lowdown, how these all leaked out. But the fact that Beane swung and missed on not only Waddle, but also Quinnen Williams, who would have represented a massive upgrade.
They never would have paid the price that the Cowboys paid for Quinnen Williams.
And you're probably right. And maybe they're not capable. And again, the money is very prohibitive as well. But look what Devon Achane just did to the Buffalo Bills. Look what this team has been unable to do, stopping the run all year long. Quinnen Williams very proficient in that area. So if I'm Brandon Beane this morning, I'm shaking my head and thinking, Schefter, can you please stop reporting? Pelissero, please stop reporting on the stuff I wasn't able to do because it's making me look bad, especially after a performance like yesterday.
Well, let's transition then and not only look at Beane, but let's look at McDermott too. How do you not have that team ready once again? And why does this seem to happen every year where a week ago you come out ready to beat the Chiefs, look great, everybody's there, and then this Dolphins team who's been just a dead fish all year and you can't do anything against it. So if this season ends poorly, and I think that means anything short of Super Bowl, so any kind of playoff loss that isn't the Super Bowl, should Beane and McDermott be back next year?
Stevie?
Ooh, I'm gonna go with yes, because I still ride with what they're doing. I just don't know if the minions under Beane and McDermott should still be there because they just showing is the system is too buddy. We need something different, and we don't need drill instructors, but we need somebody that's going to give their honest opinions and really try to help this team evolve. Because what we've been seeing is the same thing over and over and over each week. So something has to be done, and if they don't get that Super Bowl or not make the playoffs,
that would be crazy.
Don't suggest such
I looked
lunacy,
at it today, though. The FanDuel has odds. The odds aren't as crazy as you would think.
Really?
I think that let's just bring up the schedule here because I think the playoffs, if they don't make the playoffs, then everybody's fired. No doubt.
We should win 5 more. We should win at least 5 more.
So here we go. But its schedule's a little tougher than you think.
11.
Sunday, 1:00 Bucks. I will be there. I'm excited for next Sunday. 1:00.
A good game.
Yeah,
Hopefully it's snowing for the Bills' sake. That would help them out.
Sunday, Bucks at home. Then they go Thursday at the Texans. So we got 2 shows next week. We'll be at you Monday and Friday following the Texans game. Woo. Then we got at the Steelers. Right there, those are 3 games that are all tough. Then you go Bengals at home, at the Pats, huge one, at the Browns, Eagles at home versus the Jets.
Well, you look at that schedule, then you look at what New England schedule, who play the Jets, the Bengals, and the Giants the next 3 weeks. Is the division over? And I know FanDuel is suggesting it's not, listing the Patriots at only minus 225, which doesn't seem as long as maybe it should be when it comes to the Bills and their chances to win the AFC East. But, I mean, you look at the relative schedules down the stretch, Stevie. I mean, if you're a Patriots fan, you have to be feeling pretty good about things with MVP co-favorite Drake May under center.
Yes, they could be feeling good. And they've earned this situation. They've earned it. But one thing that we are forgetting right now, guys, because, we lost to the Dolphins, is the Bills thrive under pressure. Mm-hmm. When Josh Allen wakes up, this is just a funk. Again, this is 1 week of Josh playing somewhat similar or basic. He's going to feel that pressure again, and he's going to take over this year. So that's what's making this so fun and so entertaining. I can't wait to see what happens against the Buccaneers because this is going to be a great test for them. But it's going to be a home game after a loss. So I think the Bills are going to bring the sparks and blast these.
I like that. I know you'll like that too, being in attendance for it. One thing I'm really curious about your thoughts here, Chris, is what Brandon Beane said after the trade deadline when they did their press conference saying championship roster. We have a championship roster. After the game against Miami, a reporter asked Sean McDermott about those comments, and his response, and I'm going to read it to you guys verbatim, I love these guys. Is that a GM and head coach who are working in tandem at the moment?
So we know they have a tight relationship, and I'm not going to take one little quote and kind of examine it, Mike. I think Beane believes in this group. I think McDermott believes in this group.
Okay.
I think the defense against KC, we saw a major leap. And honestly, the defense has had a ton of injuries, so many injuries. And I think those guys will eventually be healthy when you need them most. So I think on defense, I'm not as concerned. It's on offense where your downfield passing game has completely disappeared. And the problem I have now is, what is the solution? And Stevie kind of mentioned it. Like, you might have to go to the scrap heap and find a retired guy. OBJ, you're retired. Amari Cooper,
Amari Cooper, not again.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, hey, Stevie, we got a video of you coming out against beer leaguers in a week that you look pretty good running routes. Like, they need someone, and I don't really know where else you can get it now that the trade deadline has passed. So that's my main concern, is that I'm a little worried about offense. You don't have the playmakers to get it done. And I have the ultimate faith in Josh. And yes, Stevie mentioned Josh. We've seen this before from him when everybody doubts this team. Remember they lost that Broncos game when Joe Brady took over and they fired Ken Dorsey? That team went on a run. They have shown in the past when everybody starts to doubt them, that is when they will start to go on a run and Josh can put the team on their back. But from what I'm seeing from these receivers, I'm a little more concerned than I have in years past. Having said that, plus 950 to win the Super Bowl. You know I hammered that this morning because I still believe.
I think that's a really good bet because this is a team that can definitely go on the road against these teams in the AFC. And listen, I'm not trying to take anything away from Denver or Indy
they'll be in that.
or New
Denver,
England.
sure,
Come
yeah.
on. Give me Josh Allen against any of those quarterbacks all day long. Would I love going into Kansas City? No, but you're probably not going to have to do that considering Kansas City's record. Baltimore's another team. Would I love going to Baltimore? I wouldn't, but I would take the Bills on the road against any of the division leaders right now, and I think that's something we very well may see come January.
One quick note too, Stevie, to your point before about everybody's too buddy-buddy. When Brian Daboll was the offensive coordinator, that team had a little bit of fire, and there wasn't that cohesion. And maybe, Stevie, you can speak to this. Do you need a little bit of a hard ass in a locker room, maybe to sort of challenge you and bring the best out of you? And is that what Josh is missing?
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing. You know, usually it'll come from some random person like a offensive lineman. You know, we had a guy named Lee Smith on our team who always got, I would say, the party started. He would do something illegal or he would say something that'll just get people fired up or upset to go out and play with fire. And if that didn't work within the team, he would go do something to the other team. So I just think, you know, the team needs to, you know, find their identity within their role players. And then when they do find it, take pride in it. You know, don't just try to fit in, be the best at what you are. And that's what we saw from Mac Hollins last year. He was the best at setting up other guys. If I'm going to clear this route, I'm going to run it as hard as I can to make it look like I'm going to get it, and it'll open up our other receiver coming underneath. If I need to block, I'm about to pancake this guy, and then I'm about to, you know, go try to get the other. We need guys to take pride in what they're doing now and not just try to learn the offense and be perfect for Josh. Just go out and be gamers. That's what I believe it needs to be done high time.
And Mac Hollins looking pretty good in New England this year.
Nice touchdown catch yesterday.
Is he going to just be the magic elixir for quarterback MVPs, as you mentioned with Drake May now?
Maybe. Everybody has to stop wearing shoes in Buffalo now. That's the only thing that will save the season.
Okay, let's go to some former Bill on Bill action here, because this is what LaShawn McCoy said yesterday. This is a couple of tweets. Why do the Bills refuse to get Josh Allen some more help? Other than Cook, you don't fear anybody. Followed it up with Bills wide receivers can't get open, so now Josh has to play Superman and scramble to extend plays. You wonder why they can't beat the top teams in the playoffs. So, Stevie, when you see a former Bill saying that about the current situation, one, do you think he's right?
Half and half, half and half, because the first half of, yeah, he's right, because that can be on the offensive side and the defensive side, where you can bring in anybody just to get Josh Allen some help. Go for it. Go for the gusto. That's what you're saying. That's what the entire fan base is saying. And then I say wrong on the side of, you just got to watch those games. When LaShawn posted that post, it was after Josh made a great play on 3rd and 16. So instead of going at the players and saying, hey, the player's not getting open down here, I mean, look at the situation that they're in. What happened on 2nd and 7? We got vertical routes from everybody, and you give a play action, and then you expect Josh to throw it downfield on 2nd and 7. How about make it 3rd and man? What happens to that?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm half and half with him, because I understand what he's saying as far as put all the chips in and go get great players. Who cares about future draft picks and et cetera? Grab those guys. But at the same time, when you watch it, you can't judge it off of just one play. Judge it off of an entire series or the entire half or whatnot, how plays have been called from the coaching staff, not just the players. That's my take.
I think this game and every loss this year can kind of be boiled down to a couple factors. One, turnovers. We talk about it all the time. Last year, they had that crazy turnover stat. When they were forcing turnovers and not turning the ball over, they won games. That's just rudimentary NFL. We all know that's the most simple thing. But James Cook in wins. 121.8 rush yards per game. Hit over 100 yards in 5 of the 6 wins. Ravens game, the only game he didn't. But still, that Ravens game was kind of weird. They had the pass. They were down big, whatever. James Cook in losses. 63.0 rush yards per game. And we saw it again yesterday. We saw it Pat's game, Falcons game, this game yesterday. So this offense is purely based off of getting James Cook going.
Well, it's funny. We talk about Josh Allen, MVP, this and that. I think James Cook is definitely the key that unlocks the entire Buffalo
most important
Bills
player to the offense. Maybe.
Yeah, and those stats are very much demonstrative of just that fact. And James Cook, and they went down quick, did the Bills yesterday, and never really got good footing with the running game. I do wonder, Stevie, let's say you're an opposing defense against the Buffalo Bills in the postseason. Your focus is, okay, I'm taking James Cook away. I'm stacking the box. I'm making receivers downfield. We're playing man. Can somebody go out there and beat us? Is that a viable strategy for opposing defense against the Buffalo Bills? You take Cook away, and it's like Coleman, Shakir, Kincaid, go out and beat us. And if they can't, I think those opposing defenses will have a lot of success against the Bills.
Yeah, and that's the recipe for a lot of teams, to be honest. Just play pressure and press man. And yeah, you can stop a lot of teams. You've seen what the Bills did to the Kansas City Chiefs. When they played press, when they played off, big plays happen. Just to get the Bills versus the Dolphins. When they play off, big play happen. When they play press, you have a chance. When you press, what I saw was no communication, though. When there was run plays with Devon Achane getting it, you usually hear run, or somebody saying it. It seemed like the DBs and everybody was still running with their player. Meanwhile, Achane is running up the middle or running up the side, getting multiple yards. James Cook, we talked about him. The focal point is James Cook. However, on a crucial situation, guys, where was James Cook at? On the sideline,
yeah,
not even
times
in the game. Yeah, to be motioned outside to get the eye so that you can get a pre-snap read. He's on the sideline. So, it's play calling, brothers. It's play calling.
It shocks me in crucial plays to see either Ray Davis or Ty Johnson out there. And I know they're good players, but on a 3rd and 1, when I see James Cook not in the backfield or 3rd and short, we know that it's going to be a pass play.
Yeah.
Because if we are seeing this stuff watching from our couches or in the stadium, the other defenses definitely know what's going on, and they're telegraphing too much
predictability.
It's too predictive with their packages and who's on the field.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, and that's something they need to look at. Now, again, it was just a week ago.
Yes.
The Chiefs win. Everything
they were Super Bowl favorites. Allen was MVP favorite.
Exactly. And things change quickly. It's an overreaction league.
We're still not even at U.S. Thanksgiving.
That's exactly it. I don't think there's any reason to panic. I still think the Buffalo Bills are very viable Super Bowl contenders in an AFC East where there's a lot of good teams. Don't think there's a lot of great teams. That being said, there are clearly warts with this football
Plus
team that they need to figure out. And I'm totally with you on that. I think as you get closer and closer, would you rule out the possibility that the Bills run the table or close to? But at the end of again, the schedule is daunting. There are some tough teams.
But maybe that's what you need.
I think that's exactly it. For whatever reason, I don't know if there was some party in Miami. Maybe they met up with Odell Beckham Jr. and the Giants from many years ago who had their boat party. I don't know what it was, but they didn't show up ready to play. It was an awful, awful performance from the Bills. But as Jalen Hurts said many years ago, you just got to flush it and move on. And that's what they need to do. And a game against the Bucs coming to Highmark Stadium, that's a potent offense. That's going to be a difficult team to stop. Allen might have to go toe-to-toe with Baker Mayfield, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, that Sunday's crucial. Sunday is must win. If you lose Sunday to the Bucs, then anything is in play.
The division's over. Because I can tell you, New England's beating the Jets on Thursday night. That's happening.
I think the division might already be cooked, and that might not be the worst thing for this team if you have to go on the road in the playoffs. I know they're so good at home, but like you said, the Chiefs aren't going to be playing home games. The Ravens aren't going to be playing home games. So having to go into Indy, sure. I think
would you rather host the Chiefs or go to the Colts?
I would rather go to the Colts.
Easily,
I would
not even a doubt.
The Broncos.
Exactly, without a doubt.
What about you, Stevie? Would you rather host KC or host Baltimore, or would you rather go to Indy or Denver?
Yeah, I'm with you guys on that. I'd rather go to Indy or Denver. I don't mind being on the road. More energy for the guys.
Now let's quickly wrap up with the NFC because we got a banger of a Monday nighter here with Eagles Packers. Is the best? So I'll ask the question, but I will say I still think Detroit is the best team in the NFC.
Oh, really?
But a lot of people are saying whoever wins this game, potentially the best team in the NFC. Now, both of these teams are flawed to me, but that's the NFL in 2025. Who isn't flawed here? So, AK, what are you looking for tonight? What do you think about? Is the winner of this game the best team in the NFC?
No, the best team in the NFC is the Rams. That's the best team in the NFC. They have the best quarterback going right now in the conference.
Best coach, best quarterback. We said it all last year.
Matthew Stafford has 4 passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions in 4 straight games.
Going for the record. Peyton Manning, I believe, has the record.
We're talking about an unprecedented level of performance for a guy who we weren't sure was going to be even playing this year with the back problem before the season. He's got Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, Blake Corum. They're rolling offensively, and that defense is good and young. As far as tonight, I mean, clearly you're talking about two premier Super Bowl contenders in the Packers and the Eagles. And the Eagles are coming off the bye. And we remember last year, the Eagles off the bye, they went on a tear. That's something that I'm expecting tonight. I like the Eagles plus the points on the road. And that's a team that I think could really get going here, get back into Super Bowl mode. I'm really fired up to see this game. I think it's going to be cinema.
Yeah, big shout out to Stafford in the NFC. Big shout out to what Mayfield's doing. Looking forward to see him compete with Josh. But in the NFC, I'm not going to say Detroit. I'm going to stay with the Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. And like you said, you caught it when the Eagles come off a bye week. I mean, they look like elite players. So I'm looking to see Jalen Hurts go crazy tonight against the Green Bay Packers.
I'm the only one who thinks the Packers are going to win tonight. And I do not like the Packers. I'm never really high on the Packers. But the Packers tend to play really down to bad teams.
Yeah.
And will play up against good teams. So, like, well, they have a loss to Carolina, a loss to Cleveland, and they tied the Cowboys. But tonight is a big game against a great Eagles team who Stevie, to his credit, all year has been saying Philadelphia is the best team in football.
Very consistent.
I think the Packers come out and win tonight, but we are going to do, instead of our typical best bet, we're going to just give it a little pivot. We're going to do a your way parlay. And credit to Stevie, who last week gave us two. Stevie's like, not even one play. I'm going to go under on Dak and I'm going to go over on Javonte Williams. They both hit. Stevie continues to dominate.
Savant.
He really is. Yeah, exactly. Count those stacks, Stevie. So we're going to do a little your way tonight. So that means we can have a little flexibility on the lines here. But I'm going Dallas Goedert, 4 catches. He's got 3 catches, I think, in like 6 straight games. And if you average it out, he had that big 9-catch game in there too. This just feels like a big spot for him when Philly's in these tight games. He's kind of a go-to security blanket. He might not kill you with the yards, but I think he's going to be consistent. I kind of like him as a touchdown tonight too, but I'm going to go Goddard, 4 catches for our your way parlay.
For me, Jalen Hurts rushing is something that I'm interested in. Let's push it all the way to 50 plus. The over-under is 27 and a half.
So you're going big.
We're going big. We're swinging for the fences because you look at what Green Bay does with their pass rush. I think Jalen Hurts is going to be scrambling for his life with Micah Parsons chasing after him. There'll be some design runs in a crucial primetime game against another top-tier contender. Jalen Hurts uses his legs very effectively tonight, more so than ever.
Yep, I'm riding with both of you guys. I'm going with Jalen Hurts to get a passing touchdown. Hopefully it's to Goddard, and so you can hit your bet. And then I'm going with Jalen Hurts getting a rushing touchdown also.
I like it.
Considering what the Green Bay Packers bring, with that pressure, just like AK said, Hurts is going to have to use his legs, and I believe it's going to pay dividends for the Philadelphia Eagles.
So we got a tasty little your way parlay. Woo! Go to FanDuel, use your way. You can set the lines yourself, as we just did. Gonna be a big Monday nighter. I'm pretty hyped. Stevie, play us out.
Hey guys, look, if you don't evolve, you may become extinct. Come on, let's get it. This is the Broken Table Podcast. Stay tuned next week. Go Bills for life.